Well, hello everyone, and happy Monday. Nielson and Gager with you once again, and it is episode 13 of the Pit Stop Pals, and we've got lots to get to with the Austrian Grand Prix, lots to discuss coming out of that race. I'm back in my parents' basement in Cranbrook, BC, and Gager's wearing that beautiful Red Bull jacket provided to us by Mobile One. Of course, Mobile One, Mr. Lube. We're going to get to that coming up here with your Pit Stop Pals podium, so make sure you're watching for that, and we'll announce who ended up winning that prize last week. We'll have a giveaway again this week, courtesy our partners at Mobile One Racing. Gager, that was quite a race again, buddy. We got back-to-back beauties here.
This is so, like, the only bad thing about the last 2 weeks is we got to wait a week this week. That's the only bad thing that I can come up with. Like, unbelievable race again, lots of drama, lots of stuff going on. I think the headline is basically Ferrari came into Red Bull's house and dominated for a bit. So that was special for Charles for sure to come back with a victory.
We are streaming live right now, so if you're watching on Twitter and you have any questions that you'd like us to get to coming out of the Austrian Grand Prix, feel free to slide into the comment section right now. If you are watching on Twitter as well, you can always find it on YouTube. Search Nielson Media and Entertainment. You'll find it on YouTube. And then, of course, always on all of our podcast feeds, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts, you can find the Pit Stop Pals. We've got lots to get to. Let's dive right into our Mobile One Mr. Lube PSP Podium. And yes, have your Mobile One synthetic oil change completed at Mr. Lube. Same day oil change and tire service. No appointment necessary. Hear that? Tire service mixed in there as well. So huge thank you once again to Mobile One and Mr. Lube for hopping on board with the Pit Stop Pals. And like I said, we've got a giveaway a little bit later on. Somebody's going to win one of these hats and a gift certificate valued at up to close to $100 from Mr. Lube. So I'll take care of some business for you there. Gager, top spot on the podium, buddy. What are we going with this week?
Oh, we got to go with, I think, Charles Leclerc. We talked about tires, Dusty. I think tire management was key to Charles basically dominating that race. It got a little hairy at the end with a sticky throttle.
Yeah.
But, man, just it's funny when as I went through it was nice to have a little bit more helmet cam time. But he sets, like, I find that he is he's a patient driver. As to Max is a little bit more aggressive, I believe, because this is like 3 times where he set that kind of trap where he goes wide. Max sees a little bit of an opening and juts through there, and then Charles gets him on the next turn, right? Like he sets him up for that. He's done it like 3 or 4 times, and it seems like Max has fallen for it every time. But no, it was a fascinating race, and to see Carlos get past Verstappen, and as it seemed like just the Ferraris were doing a much better job, right? But for Charles to finish the race, like, I had butterflies that last 5 laps, seeing what was going to happen and seeing that time kind of definitely drop down in the last lap. But great race for him. Nice for him to get back on the podium and a little bit closer to Max in the overall standing.
I'm with you on the final couple of laps when we got that radio from Leclerc being like, "Oh, we're having trouble." I was just like, "Oh no!" Like, Max had already cut it down a little bit. I said, "You cannot." It would have been the most Ferrari thing this season so far for Leclerc's car to give out on him and just slow down enough for Verstappen to fly by him during that race. But the level of comfort, like, it was very bizarre. Like, I thought this was going to be a Max Verstappen week. I was proven wrong, because the way Ferrari operated was the way I thought Red Bull was going to operate. Like, make your pit stops when you want, because you've got the car that's just going to overtake Verstappen anyway, and don't worry about it. And sure enough, it did every single time. And Verstappen really couldn't do anything about it, Gager. If you're Ferrari, I don't know if this continues moving forward, but you have to be very encouraged with what you saw. We'll get to Sainz in a second, but specifically from Leclerc, you've got to be very excited, especially for Leclerc, who's had some levels of disappointment so far this season. Like, I know the summer break's coming up, but if you can bang out 1 or 2 more of these, man, you're in a pretty good spot all of a sudden.
Wow, you were speaking of the moment at the end of the sprint race when I believe Charles said, "That's okay, guys. We've got a fast car. We'll catch them tomorrow." Which was, I was like, really? Because watching the whole race and seeing the gap, it didn't waver the whole time. He was like 2 to 3 seconds ahead the whole time, and to see what I really loved about the sprint was Ferrari letting Carlos and Charles kind of battle for a bit. And then there was the whole conversation. Can they do this? Could they have done more at that point? Like just to slingshot each other around to hopefully catch up to Max. But I think they were just comfortable with where they were, which was really good. But it's so weird. Like Ferrari, it's one or the other, Dusty. It's either they get the strategy right, they have the car in the right window, and then they have reliability issues. But I believe one of the broadcasters said or it might have even been Tim Hraney that said this, that was really good, was it's easier to fix the reliability of a car. It's way harder to build a fast car. So Ferrari does have that fast car. They can fix those reliability issues and hopefully be able to because like you said, Max looked unbeatable in those, and from practice all the way through to the race.
Yeah, he was terrific. It was absolutely outstanding. And we'll get to we'll get to Carlos Sainz here a little bit later on in the podium, but let's continue here, Gager, with the second spot on the podium, and I'm pretty excited about what we're going to talk about here, my man.
Well, yeah, of course you are with the name of your family.
What a week I had.
Oh my gosh, that was ridiculous. Well, I'm not going to speak about that anymore. The fact that driver of the day, Mick Schumacher, gets driver of the day, and you see Haas finish in the points and be really strong throughout the whole race. Like, I was almost wanting to watch that middle of the field, because I think there was again a point where there was like
really good
5 cars wide in a turn in that middle of the pack. And really, Dusty, I feel like they're close to the front too. Like, it's not like there's not a massive gap. There is a gap between the front guys and the middle, but I think it's closing closer and closer. And just to see Gunther after the race, and in my limited German knowledge of what he said to his drivers was awesome. He's pumped, really. And they were talking about how great this is. I mean, Formula One's growing all over the world, but especially they were looking to really bolster into North America. And for the Haas cars to be doing so well right now, I think that can only make those North American races in the U.S. even greater with having a kind of a home team car to cheer for.
Yeah, that would certainly make a big difference. I've been riding Haas as my constructor in our F1 pool all year, and I saw the qualifying. I was just like, oh, this might actually work out this week. And then it did. What did you say? I had the biggest week of the whole year, and I didn't even have Carlos Sainz finish the race.
I know you almost had 400 points. Like, yeah, you jumped from 6th to 3rd. So I gotta have there's going to be a lot of work done in the next 2 weeks for my fan. I gotta make sure I don't have another.
Are you bringing upgrades, Gager? Is that what's happening here?
I might be bringing upgrades. I don't know. We'll see. But Haas seems to. I don't know. Are they bringing upgrades? Both
those cars look pretty good, man. Like, to me, you got your top 3 teams, and Mercedes trying to work their way back up there. But outside of that, I mean, I don't think it's crazy to think that Haas could at least push everybody else, right? I think that's, with the way they look this week, I think that's something that we could certainly look at least post summer break.
I would be like, yeah, there might have to be a safety car at some point, but I would see Haas probably one of them finishing on the podium. Fernando Alonso, the old man on the track, is driving amazing, and that Alpine car is a rocket ship right now. So, man, this is things are really heating up. I love the fact that these cars are getting even better, and again, with that helmet cam and seeing where they were with the porpoising from the beginning. The only car that I really hear it a lot is that McLaren car, really. And then again, you see Ricardo and Lando also finishing in the points.
A little bit better. So. Yeah, a little bit better for sure. That's true. Nice little battle between those two guys as we worked our way throughout the weekend as well. It is the Pit Stop Pals. We are smack dab in the middle of the Pit Stop Pals podium, presented to you by Mobile One and Mr. Lube. Have your Mobile One synthetic oil change completed at Mr. Lube. Same day oil change and tire service with no appointment necessary. Carlos Sainz looked like he was having this is his whole season, man. Like, I think he's been driving pretty well. He's made some mistakes for sure, and obviously the car has let him down a few times. And then this week it's set on fire, and I think our reaction was probably the same watching this, wasn't it, Gager?
Yeah, I like, and it was weird because he was moving up on Max again, right? There was the final tire change for him. I think he went to the mediums and just was right around that corner. I go, oh, what's happening? And then you could hear the you could see a little bit of smoke, and then that runoff, and then you just they go to the radio, and it's just no, 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 no. And I mean, we talked about this before, Dusty. Carlos, yeah, he's had some mistakes, but I think the reliability issues have plagued his season more than anything else. And I there's a little bit more, I'd say, patience to his driving and waiting for his chances. And man, it's frustrating because when you do look at the points standing, I mean, he is fourth overall, but how many of those points should he have? Like, he should definitely be in third place, I think, without these reliability issues and battling up there with Charles. So another missed opportunity for Ferrari just to take those points away from Max, because it looked like for sure at that point it was going to be a 1-2 Ferrari for this race.
As they sprayed him down, so the car starts rolling back a little bit, and you see that one guy who came out looked like he wanted to put something behind the wheel, and then he panicked on that front. Sainz gets out, and it almost was like a sense of save the car, save the car. I mean, Sainz is obviously the priority, but they really wanted to save that car, and those flames came quick. Carlos is lucky he got out when he did, Gager. And what do you think? What do you think comes out of this when you see that car like fully engulfed like that?
Well, first, yeah, yelling at him to get out, and then save the car, because of the current situation with a lot of teams with the cap issues, right? So already reading about Toto Wolff and Christian Horner talking to the FIA about possibly raising the cap just because of inflation throughout the entire world, especially in the UK, where I believe it's like 11% inflated. It's the highest it's been in 30 years, right? So that's going to affect the costs of these cars.
Fair enough.
And then, like, I think that's why Carlos was saying, put the flames out, because this is going to cost a fortune to fix. So it'll be interesting to see what happens if they do actually, or if they don't raise that cap. We could see a lot more grid penalties, possibly throughout to the end of the year there. If cars start going over and taking grid placement penalties, it could make it interesting at the end if they don't raise this cap, because by all accounts they say that they're by the end of the year they're going to get close. Like, a couple teams are going to get close. So except for Haas, because they're not as long as they don't crash anymore, they don't bring any upgrades. So
they don't have a budget anyway, so it's okay. Don't worry about it. Nielson and Gage are with you. It's a Pit Stop Pals, episode 13, Mobile One, and Mr. Lube now on board. We'll have that trivia question coming up for you a little bit later on. We'll announce who won in episode 12 as well. That is your Pit Stop Pals podium, but still lots to get to. I mean, let's just quickly dive back into Verstappen for a second here, Gager, because not a bad drive by any stretch of the imagination, but when he kind of came in for that, he was the first of the main guys to pit. I was just like, okay, this is interesting. And many people were thinking this was going to be a one-stop strategy today, and then you see him pit early, and you could just tell right away. I mean, that car was just eating those tires apart. So I mean, you're disappointed because you didn't win it, but with the way things went yesterday, I think he probably has to be pretty happy with how they got out of it with a second place finish.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, it was weird because even with like Perez, he's the tire, even though he didn't have the performance because I think the side pod was damaged. They said that he was eating up his tires too. So definitely, from what they said, that's a very grippy track too. So, but it's so fascinating to me that some drivers can take care of their tires a little bit better than others, right? So, and it seemed like Ferrari did the best job of that. Even probably the best job of tire management throughout the race was Lewis Hamilton. He went
Mercedes. Longest. I was going to say everybody else at pit. He's like, oh, tires are good. We're going to keep rolling.
He was on the mediums too, right? And so they were the softest compounds that Pirelli can bring, but. Yeah, it's. I'm trying to think, and I know it's at the infancy, but you don't see the softs that much, Dusty. Like like they just know that these things are just going to tear apart. Because I mean, even with the hards, once they get them kind of warmed up, and it's like 3 or 4 laps, you can see the pace of the car and their lap times just dropping like crazy. So tire management's going to be really big. I'm from what they say in the next race, the same type of track, because Red Bull has to do something for sure. If Ferrari's doing a much better job, and it'll be we'll see what if Mercedes can poke their head in there, because another great weekend by Mercedes with a 3-4.
Well, Lewis Hamilton, he's now he's finished on the podium 3 straight races. Now, Ferrari's lost a car here, Red Bull's lost a car there, but he's also been outperforming George Russell as of late. Gage, do you think there's still more there from Mercedes, or is this car kind of topped out in that 3 to 5 range, depending on who else finishes the race? By the way, I think I saw a tweet that Lewis Hamilton's the only guy who's finished every single race so far this season.
I think there's going to be more, Dusty. I have to think that they're figuring stuff out, because if you really look at it, and I think we had mentioned this a few episodes ago, and the true mark of progress is over a certain amount of races. And I think we can honestly say over the past 3 races, Mercedes has gotten better each and every race. And barring crashes in qualifying, it looked like Lewis was going to be sitting close to pole for the sprint race, right? So
that's a really good point.
I think they're close to compete with on the qualifying side of things, and I think they have really good lap times, but I think the overall pace of a race, I don't think they're quite there yet. France will be a good measuring stick to see where they are. Obviously, because we're going back to a normal qualifying situation, see if they can get up in the top 3 and get someone on pole, and then see how they manage the race from there.
Yeah, it was really encouraging. You're right with that qualifying. Watching, you're like, holy smokes, Lewis is right in the thick of it here. Like, yeah, and then obviously the accident. So that was
in my nerddom with the data, it's really cool because the purples come up when they talk about the purples. That's the fastest part of that track. And watching Lewis, and I'm used to seeing Max and Charles and Perez putting all these purples in, but then you started seeing Lewis put all these purples down. I was like, oh my God. And then he crashed. So I hate these weeks off, Dusty. But
you think it was just a coincidence that both Mercedes had the understeer there? Like that was I was just like, what are the odds of that? Like that surprised me a little bit.
Well, I think they got a little bit excited, to tell you the truth. Like when Lewis was talking,
here we go.
Lewis got all really horned up for this car. All of a sudden, started pushing it a little bit too far, because he realized that finally, because you heard his voice at the beginning of the season when they told him, Lewis, we're out of Q2 or whatever. He goes, really? He was almost puzzled. So I mean, he's only human, and I know he's a 7-time world champion, but when you hear your lap times are doing quite well, you're going to be a little bit more encouraged to push that car a little bit. So,
all right, here we go. Let's continue. I know you've probably got a few things on your board, Gager. I've got one thing I want to talk about, and I don't think maybe I hadn't been paying attention this year, but everybody exceeding track limits over and over and over again. I think the one time they went to Lewis and he's just like, what are they talking about? I didn't go off. And then he's like, is this happening with anybody else? And they're like, everybody's getting warnings. A few guys have already been shown the black and white flag. So I don't know if you saw anything on the helmet cams or you watched anything after, but what the hell was going on with that? That seemed weird to me.
It was like, I rewatched a few, and it was really close to me, Dusty. When they mentioned going off track, like there was a good gap to see, right? I thought it was really pulling hairs here.
It seemed like they were just, I didn't see anybody technically, unless there was a battle where somebody actually went off the track.
It wasn't a huge amount. So, maybe I don't know. Maybe they had seen something in the past few races and they just wanted to put a clamp on it at this race and get guys. But everyone was doing it. It seemed like everyone was along that same line. Maybe it was just more a thing to do with the track. But yeah, I thought it was a little bit much, to tell you the truth. The other thing I noticed that maybe you don't notice, but Max, what happened to Max's flat brimmed cap? Like, did they get the wrong batch? Because I was like, what's going on here? Max won, and then when he won the thing, it flew off his head, and I don't know, maybe that rattled Max a little bit. But I'm used to seeing Max with the flat brimmed, and he went to the old school cap. So maybe you have to switch back. I'm sure he'll switch back for next race.
Anything else on the board, Gager? What else you got there? I will just quickly, that 5 wide, when they were 5 wide there, that was it was Lando, the Haas, Hamilton was ahead of it, I think. Was he at the front part of that? That was awesome, man. God, that was good.
It was, I almost need a second stream for TV because they were talking about the leaders at that point, and I think most of the action was in that midfield pack and seeing what was going on there, right? And I mean, even it was amazing that no one touched at that point. Like it was just crazy racing. So the biggest thing I had really, Dusty, was just from the beginning of the race looking like Ferraris were going to pull some points out, but just the strategy that Ferrari had was I mean, aside from the engine blowing up, it looked like they finally got it right. You had Max go in first, you pit I think Charles came in, then Carlos came in, and they just covered everything. Their pit stops were perfect. Like they had everything going for them with everything. So very very unfortunate, because when we look at when I was looking at the constructors, right? That was a huge, and I mean, it's what, Red Bull's 359, Ferrari's 303, so that would have been a huge bite to take out of that constructors championship out of Red Bull there. But I just it's good to see. I hope they can just get those reliability things done and go from there, because it was hairy at the end with that throttle, man. I was getting very nervous for Charles to have something happen to him then.
You could tell he sounded a little bit nervous too. He's just like, we
cannot
let this slide away, man. That's a tough one. Tough week for Checo as well. We haven't really talked about him much. That was, that's tough with the way that ended up going down for him. But
and he's driving so
he's
well.
He's been driving. That's what I was just gonna say. Like he's always given himself, no matter where he's gonna start. I mean that. Like, he started 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th. I think he's got what it takes to finish in the top 5 still, right? Because his car's been great, and he's such a good driver. And, he basically accomplished that this week and then ends up
Do you think he got a little bit too aggressive at the start there when, like, with Russell? I
don't think he needed to do what he did at that time. You know what I mean? Like, I think he would have got him anyway at some point. So
that's what I like, and it was early in the race, and you saw Carlos do this a few times early, and Checo has had some good starts, but I just thought, it's Russell, that Red Bull's got, it's got better straight line speed with 3 DRS zones, that's
tons of room.
I felt like that was a little bit too aggressive at that time of the race. Why risk it at that point, right? So we'll see.
We've got our trivia question to wrap up. Congratulations to David Pincock. David won last week's trivia question. The answer was Lewis Hamilton, who had the fastest lap last week. I also got a bunch of messages from people saying you need to make the questions a little bit more difficult, Dusty. And that was the first one, right? So what we have is we've got one of these Mobile One racing hats that Gager and I have, and then we've got a series of different Mr. Lube gift cards ranging from like $85 up to about $132. So we'll get you one of those as well. All you have to do is slide into my DMs on Twitter at NielsenTSN1260. Just DM me the answer to this question. A little bit more difficult, still very easy to find, but you got to put in a little bit of work unless you know off the top of your head. Who won the 2017 Austrian Grand Prix? That is your question today. Look it up and send me the answer in my DMs here on Twitter at NielsenTSN1260. We'll announce a winner this week on our next episode. And like Gage just have a little bit of time, but there'll be news coming out throughout the week. So we'll bang out another episode for you as we get set for the second half of July as well. And Gage, let's wrap up with that, buddy. What do you think's the big storyline here over the next little while?
Well, I think I hate to say it, but Dusty, but it's been in the back of my mind. I want to see these Haas upgrades. I just if they're they're battling this much, and I'm curious to see. And everyone said that there's a change in Mick Schumacher after getting his first points. That's 2 races in a row in the points, and maybe this is the emergence of the offspring of one of the greatest drivers of all time, which would be really cool, I think. So
that'd be awesome if he emerged as a contender on this thing. Yeah, I mean,
and,
eventually he get taken away to a different team, but
I would like to see Lewis Hamilton just win one race this year, just to and get into another battle with Max again, and just relive.
It's gonna happen, isn't it, Gage?
We're slowly
getting there.
We're slowly getting there, I think, and just to have him up at the top there, I think it's only a matter of time, and that's what I'm really looking forward to, Dusty, especially with their success in the sprints and the qualifying. It looks a lot better for Mercedes. So, that's what I think, that in 2 weeks this is going to be great.
That's going to do it for this episode 13 of the Pit Stop Pals. Huge thanks to Mobile One and Mr. Lou for hopping on board as a sponsor of our Pit Stop Pals podium. And one more time, the trivia question. Slide into my DMs with the correct answer to get your hands in the mix for one of these hats and a gift certificate to Mr. Lou, who won the 2017 Austrian Grand Prix. Congratulations to David Pincock, who won the trivia question. Last week, we'll be back with more Formula One talk next week. Gager, until then, buddy, lights out, my man.
Keep the rubber side down, Dusty.